Most people believe goodness is a shield. They believe kindness creates safety. They believe being honest, generous, and understanding will make people respect them. But history reveals a colder truth. Goodness without awareness is not protection. It is exposure. The world does not always reward the person who gives the most. Sometimes it studies that person. It measures their limits. It discovers how much they will tolerate before they finally break. This is the mistake most people never notice. They think people respect their kindness. But often, people simply become comfortable with their sacrifice. A person who always forgives becomes someone others stop fearing losing. A person who always helps becomes someone others stop appreciating. A person who never creates resistance becomes someone others learn they can move without consequence. Niccolò Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He studied rulers, citizens, alliances, betrayals, and human behavior. He understood something uncomfortable. A virtue without judgment can become a weakness disguised as morality. The problem is not goodness itself. The problem is offering your goodness without strategy. Because in a world driven by incentives, perception, and human psychology, unlimited kindness creates a dangerous signal. It tells people you have no boundaries. It tells them access to you is unlimited. It tells them your energy, time, and loyalty are always available. And what humans receive without limits, they eventually stop valuing. But this does not mean you must become cruel. It does not mean you must abandon compassion or become someone you are not. Machiavelli's lesson was far more precise. A wise person does not destroy their virtues. They learn how to control them. They understand when to give, when to refuse, when to remain silent, when to reveal strength. Because the most powerful people in history were not those without kindness. They were those who understood the price of kindness. Today, we will uncover the hidden psychology behind why blind goodness makes people vulnerable, why generosity can quietly reduce your value, why being endlessly available can destroy respect, and why the person who masters their own virtue becomes far more difficult to manipulate. Because the most dangerous person in the room is not the one without a conscience. It is the one who understands exactly when to use one. Number 1. The weakness hidden inside unlimited goodness. The first illusion people must destroy is the belief that being good automatically makes you respected. Look closer at human behavior. The person who constantly sacrifices for everyone is rarely treated like the most important person in the room. They are usually treated like the most available person. There is a difference. Respect is not created by how much you give. Respect is created by the value people attach to what you give. When something is always accessible, the human mind slowly stops seeing it as valuable. This is why unlimited goodness creates a strange psychological effect. The more predictable your kindness becomes, the less powerful it feels. Imagine an employee who stays late every single night. At first, everyone notices. Managers praise the dedication. Coworkers admire the commitment. But after months pass, something changes. The extra hours are no longer seen as sacrifice. They become the expectation. The employee who once looked exceptional now looks normal. Then one day, that person leaves on time. Suddenly people question their commitment. Nothing changed about the person, only the expectation changed. This is one of the hidden laws of human perception. People often measure you not by what you have given, but by what they believe they are entitled to receive. The same pattern appears in friendships. The friend who always answers immediately becomes the friend everyone expects to be available. The person who always solves problems becomes the person everyone brings problems to. The person who always forgives becomes the person others feel safe disrespecting. The uncomfortable truth is this: kindness without boundaries teaches people how to treat you. And if you constantly show that nothing has consequences, people learn that your limits do not exist. Machiavelli understood this aspect of human nature. He observed that appearances and signals influence how people behave toward you. A ruler who shows only mercy can eventually lose authority because others begin confusing compassion with weakness. The same principle exists in modern life. A leader who avoids every difficult decision is not always seen as kind. Sometimes they are seen as incapable. A person who refuses every conflict is not always seen as peaceful. Sometimes they are seen as someone who can be ignored. Strength is not the opposite of goodness. Strength is what protects goodness from being destroyed. Think about a castle. The purpose of walls is not because the people inside hate the outside world. The walls exist because without protection, everything valuable inside can be taken. Your time is a castle. Your energy is a castle. Your attention is a castle. And every person who enters should understand that access is earned, not guaranteed. The mistake many good people make is believing boundaries make them selfish. They do not. Boundaries reveal that what you offer has value. A person who gives everything to everyone eventually has nothing meaningful left for anyone. But a person who protects their resources can choose where their effort creates the greatest impact. This is the difference between blind goodness and intelligent goodness. One gives until it disappears. The other preserves itself until it becomes powerful. But the deeper danger is not only that people may exploit your kindness. The deeper danger is that your generosity can slowly train them to forget your value completely. And that leads to the second truth most people never want to accept. The more you give without limits, the faster people stop seeing it as a gift. Number 2, the generosity paradox that turns gifts into expectations. There is a psychological pattern hidden inside human relationships that most people discover too late. A gift creates appreciation, but constant access creates expectation. This is why unlimited generosity often produces the opposite result of what people hope for. They believe giving more will make people value them more, but human nature does not always work that way. The mind adapts. What feels extraordinary today can become ordinary tomorrow. A person receives something valuable once, and they feel grateful. They receive it repeatedly, and slowly they stop seeing it as something special. They start seeing it as part of their reality. Consider a company leader who rewards employees with unexpected bonuses after a difficult project. The team feels recognized. They feel loyalty. They remember the gesture. But imagine that same bonus happens every month without explanation. Eventually, the bonus stops feeling like recognition. It becomes part of the salary in their mind. The absence of the bonus feels like punishment. The reward did not lose its value because the amount changed. It lost its value because expectation replaced appreciation. The same mechanism appears in personal relationships. Someone who always pays for dinner creates a generous moment, but someone who pays every single time creates a pattern. The pattern becomes invisible. Someone who always provides advice becomes the person everyone calls before making any decision. Someone who always forgives becomes the person others assume they can hurt without consequence. The tragedy is that many generous people believe they are building loyalty. Sometimes they are only building dependence. Loyalty comes from mutual respect. Dependence comes from one person constantly carrying the weight for another. These two things may look similar at first, but their endings are completely different. A loyal person appreciates your presence. A dependent person notices your absence. One respects you. The other simply misses the benefits you provided. This is why Machiavelli's observations about human behavior remain relevant. He understood that people often respond not only to what you give, but to what they believe they can continue receiving. A resource that appears unlimited loses psychological power. Scarcity creates attention. Constant availability creates familiarity. And familiarity often removes urgency. Look at modern digital life. A creator who posts once a week can create anticipation. The audience waits. They pay attention. But a creator who floods every platform every hour can eventually become background noise. The problem is not quality. The problem is unlimited exposure. The same law applies to human value. If every thought, every favor, every hour, and every piece of energy is always available, people stop recognizing the cost behind it. They only see the result. They forget the sacrifice. This is not because everyone is malicious. It is because the human brain is designed to normalize repeated experiences. Understanding this does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming precise. The strategic person does not ask, "How can I give more so people will love me?" They ask, "Where will my contribution create the greatest value?" A master architect does not use every piece of material on the first building. They understand resources must be placed carefully. Your kindness works the same way. If you spend it everywhere, it loses impact. If you direct it with intention, it creates influence. The strongest people are not those who never give. They are those who understand that every gift carries a message. Every favor communicates your standards. Every sacrifice teaches people what they can expect from you. The question is not whether you should be generous. The question is whether your generosity creates respect or simply creates access. Because once people become addicted to what you provide, they may no longer see the person behind the provision. And that reveals an even deeper truth about human nature. People rarely respond to your intentions alone. They respond to the reality you create around them. Number 3, the difference between appearing good and being effective. The world is not controlled by intentions. It is influenced by perception and results. This is one of the most uncomfortable lessons from Machiavelli's study of human behavior. People rarely see the battles inside your mind. They rarely understand the sacrifices behind your decisions. They see outcomes. They see appearances. They see what is visible. This creates a difficult reality. A person can have pure intentions and still create failure. Another person can make unpopular choices and still create something valuable. History often remembers the second person because results leave stronger footprints than intentions. Think about a CEO taking over a company that is slowly collapsing. The easiest choice is to be liked. Avoid difficult conversations. Protect everyone from discomfort. Delay painful decisions. But sometimes protecting feelings today destroys opportunities tomorrow. A serious leader may need to remove outdated systems. They may need to reject popular ideas. They may need to make decisions that create criticism. In the moment, they may look harsh. Years later, the same decisions may be recognized as necessary. This is where many people misunderstand goodness. They confuse being pleasant with being beneficial. They confuse avoiding discomfort with creating value. But real responsibility often requires the ability to create temporary discomfort for a greater outcome. A doctor does not refuse surgery because the patient dislikes pain. A coach does not remove standards because players dislike pressure. A judge does not ignore facts because the truth feels uncomfortable. The purpose is not cruelty. The purpose is correction. The same principle applies to personal growth. The person who always tells you what you want to hear may feel supportive, but the person willing to tell you what you need to hear may create greater value. The difference is simple. One protects your emotions. The other protects your future. Machiavelli understood that leaders could not survive by chasing approval from everyone. A leader who tries to satisfy every person eventually becomes controlled by every person. The need to be liked becomes a weakness because it allows others to influence every decision. This happens in everyday life. A manager who wants every employee to like them may avoid accountability. A negotiator who fears rejection may accept unfair terms. A person who needs constant approval may slowly abandon their own judgment. The desire to appear good can become a prison, because once your identity depends on looking virtuous, you become afraid of any action that could be misunderstood, and fear of misunderstanding creates weakness. The strategic person accepts a different reality. Sometimes the right decision will look wrong to people who cannot see the entire picture. Sometimes protecting something valuable requires disappointing someone temporarily. Sometimes saying no is the most responsible form of yes. This is why true virtue requires intelligence. Without judgment, kindness becomes random. Without discipline, generosity becomes waste. Without courage, honesty becomes silence, because speaking truth may cost you approval. The goal is not to become admired by everyone. That goal is impossible. The goal is to become effective enough that your actions create undeniable results, because in the end, people may criticize your decisions today, but they cannot ignore what those decisions build tomorrow. And once you understand that, you begin to see the hidden economy behind every action you take. Every yes has a price. Every sacrifice has a cost. Every resource you spend on others is a resource you cannot spend elsewhere. And the next truth reveals why even the most generous person must learn the discipline of protecting their own power. Number 4. The invisible economy of your time and energy. Every person is living inside a hidden economy. Not one measured by money. One measured by attention, energy, time, and focus. The mistake many people make is treating these resources as unlimited. They believe they can always give more. More hours, more favors, more emotional support, more patience. But every resource has a limit, and when you ignore that limit, the consequences arrive quietly. At first, nobody notices. You simply become more tired. Your own goals move slower. Your concentration weakens. Your ambition becomes harder to access. Then one day you realize something disturbing. You have spent so much energy maintaining everyone else's world that you have neglected building your own. This is the hidden cost of uncontrolled goodness. It does not destroy you immediately. It slowly reduces your ability to become who you could have been. Imagine a talented entrepreneur with a revolutionary idea. Instead of protecting time for development, they spend every evening solving everyone else's problems. Friends need advice. Colleagues need help. Family members need constant attention. None of these things are wrong. But after years pass, the entrepreneur looks around and sees that everyone around them has progressed, while their own vision remains unfinished. They were not defeated by failure. They were defeated by constant interruption. This is why powerful people protect their resources. Not because they lack compassion, because they understand responsibility. A person with no energy cannot create value. A person with no focus cannot produce excellence. A person who gives away every opportunity cannot build anything lasting. There is a reason airplane safety instructions tell passengers to secure their own oxygen mask before helping others. The principle is simple. A person who collapses while trying to save everyone creates a bigger problem. The same law applies psychologically. If you constantly abandon yourself to support others, eventually you become someone who needs support. The irony is painful. The person who wanted to be useful becomes unavailable when it matters most. This is not a lesson about sustainability. A forest that gives every tree away. A forest that gives every tree away cannot survive. A river that never receives water eventually dries. Even nature understands balance. Human beings often ignore it because they confuse sacrifice with virtue. But sacrifice without direction is not noble. It is simply waste. Machiavelli studied leaders who lost influence because they spent their strength carelessly. A ruler who gives away authority to please everyone eventually has no authority left. A leader who refuses difficult choices eventually loses the ability to lead. The same principle exists in modern life. Your calendar reveals your priorities. Your attention reveals your values. Your energy reveals what you truly protect. If every person can access you at any moment, then you are not in control of your own life. You are simply responding to demands created by others. The strategic person understands that saying yes is not automatically a sign of kindness. Sometimes yes is a form of self-destruction. Every yes to a meaningless request is a no to something important. Every hour spent on unnecessary problems is an hour removed from your own mission. Every emotional battle you enter is energy taken away from your own growth. This is why disciplined people are selective. They do not give their best energy everywhere. They reserve it for what deserves it. The greatest contributors in history were not people who responded to every request. They were people who protected their focus long enough to create something extraordinary. They understood that impact requires concentration. A candle cannot light an entire city if its flame is constantly being divided. Your power works the same way. Protecting your energy is not rejecting others. It is protecting the ability to contribute something meaningful. But once you learn to protect your resources, another challenge appears. You must decide where those resources should go, because kindness without direction is wasted, and virtue without strategy remains powerless. Ending. The greatest mistake a person can make is believing that goodness alone is enough. History does not remember those who simply had good intentions. It remembers those who understood reality, adapted to it, and created something that survived beyond themselves. Your kindness is not the problem. Your weakness is not knowing its price. A blade is not dangerous because it exists. It is dangerous because someone understands when to use it. Your virtue works the same way. Compassion without awareness becomes vulnerability. Generosity without judgment becomes exhaustion. Honesty without courage becomes silence. The world does not need more people who are simply good. It needs people who are disciplined enough to protect their goodness from being destroyed. Because the moment you understand your own value, you stop giving from fear. You stop helping to be accepted. You stop sacrificing yourself to prove that you matter. You begin choosing. You begin deciding. You begin controlling what deserves your energy and what does not. Machiavelli understood a truth that still echoes centuries later. A person who cannot govern themselves will always be governed by others. So before you leave, ask yourself one final question. Are you truly a good person because you have chosen your actions with wisdom, or because you have never learned how to protect yourself?